You found your way here tonight, drifting, not rushing, not reaching, just a gentle wandering. The world is quiet, or maybe it isn't, but you find yourself wishing it was. You press your cheek a little deeper into the pillow, the fabric cool beneath your skin. There's a hush, like the sound between raindrops, where you can let go. This is the beginning, or maybe it's only the middle, and that's okay. You're not in a hurry. You've come to the modern mystic, where the stories move slower than memory, where we honor the deep, fog-thick spaces most never see. You are safe here, safe to listen, safe to drift, safe to let go of being awake. Each small thought can float away like dust in the early sunlight. Tonight, the story is simple. It lingers like the first pale steam rising from a morning cup of tea. The story is about waiting, just waiting. Waiting for a letter from Carl Jung. There's no rush to know why. Letters are slow. Life is slow, too, when you let it be. Take a breath. The old wooden door creaks gently. Your weight settles like a coat on the rack. There is time for everything that matters, even waiting. The tea sits warming hands, fog presses gentle against glass, and somewhere in some distant place, a letter is moving toward you through invisible hands. Paper, envelope, ink, all slow things. Magic, even in their ordinariness. Let's walk together. You can rest. The pace here is safe, slower than your thoughts. There's nothing to do but listen and remember what you already know deep in your bones, that you belong, and it's enough, even when nothing is happening. A clock ticks. The shadows move a little. Something very old opens within you, and nothing more is needed. Tonight, here in the soft hush of your room, we begin together. You are welcome here. Let your limbs grow heavy, sink into your mattress, and close your eyes. This is not a story to watch. This is a slow walk, a quiet hush. This is an invitation to remember how beautiful nothingness can be. Let's drift, you and I, deeper into the quiet spaces. There's a life I want to show you, not a hero's journey or a tale of triumph. Just the mundane wonder of waiting, of hope stitched into silence, of soft mornings scented with paper, quiet afternoons spent watching tiny dust motes hover in the light. You are invited to this gentle inner world where waiting itself becomes a kind of prayer. It begins in a small house, somewhere barely marked on any map. Grey light slips through thin curtains. Tea steams in a chipped mug, the handle warm against tired fingers. Somewhere far away, a letter is moving through hands you'll never know. Time slows here. We're not rushing. We're not chasing meaning or answers. We're just being softly, gently, like bread rising in a bowl. He sits at the kitchen table. You can feel the ache in his back, the pleasant one that comes from work well done. The kettle judders and sighs, then lets go a little steam. The house is quiet. The world outside hums like a far-off river, slow and steady, predictable. Breathe in and allow the silence to settle. Each day he waits, waiting for a letter from Carl Jung, waiting for the world to turn and the air to change and the sparrows to settle on the eaves. Sometimes there is hope so quiet you almost miss it. Sometimes there is only the hum of the radiator, the scent of old wool and burnt toast. Nothing happens. And that is exactly right. Tonight, you can rest in this gentle rhythm. We are walking the halls of waiting side by side. No need to know the ending, only the quiet, only the hushy welcome, dear soul, to the softest hour. The world quiets, and so do we. Let this moment be simple. Let your thoughts slow, let your eyelids rest. It's night, or almost night. The light pulls away from corners. You are here not to learn, but to feel a little less alone, to listen, to float. The modern mystic has made a place for you, steady and slow, where nothing rushes and everything belongs. You are waiting in a room that is yours, surrounded by the things you've kept. Maybe there's tea in your cup. Maybe the window aches with a soft glaze of old dreams. Maybe you are waiting for a letter from someone whose words could change you if only they would arrive. The pages might come bearing a signature from Carl Jung, or perhaps from the quietest part of yourself. The part that believes in synchronicity, in symbols, in dreams that talk back. It's gentle here. The bed is unmade. The slow shapes of night roll in, and the world reduces to these four walls. This waiting is not empty. It is sacred. Each breath a soft tide pulling you further from the busy shore. You can let your thoughts surface and sink as they wish. Tonight we will walk together through 12 seasons of spirit. Nothing will happen, and that will be enough. The letter is coming. Maybe it's already here. The kettle hums softly on the stove, a rain might tap against the roof. You lean into the gentle boredom, a friend at your side. There is no right way to be. Just now, just here, you are safe. You are welcome. Let's begin this slow remembering together. Welcome to the modern mystic. Tonight, there is only the hum of quiet things. You are here, drifted in from the world. Your thoughts wander like slow clouds against a pale sky. This is a place for boring beauty, for sacred boredom, for the silent world beneath the world. Let us sink together into the nothing much. There is no rush here. No reason to stay awake, just the gentle arrival of sleep, like a warm shawl around your shoulders. Tonight, we wait for a letter from Carl Jung. We wait, and we linger, we make ourselves available. There is space to do nothing, to listen, to wait for the envelope's slow, unseen journey across 1,000 miles. The kettle steams in the quiet kitchen, a window sighs open, letting in the hush of evening streetlights. You can hear the world spinning outside, but it can't hurry you here. Let every word bring you closer to the place behind your eyelids. Nothing needs to happen tonight, nothing but waiting, nothing but breathing, nothing but listening. He turned the cup slowly between two hands. The page sat bare and silent on the desk. He waited in the gentle silence, just waiting for a letter. The clock ticked, but the mind grew softer, slower. The world melted away until nothing remained but the breath and the waiting. Come in, let the day peel away. Here, in the gentle borderlands between waking and sleep, we wait together, softly, quietly. The lights are dim, and the room breathes with the hush of dusk. This is the modern mystic, where longing and patience become your company, and even boredom is beautiful. You arrived exactly on time. Tonight is about waiting. Waiting for a letter from Carl Jung. Not a loud anticipation, not a restless need to know, but a quiet, nearly sacred hope. The world slows here, as if the clocks caught their breath, stretching out hours into soft, unhurried moments. Rain patters against the window, tea cools in its cup. You are allowed to pause here, allowed to need nothing, allowed to be. Dinner plates are stacked by the sink, a lamp casts a golden pool on the table, and you sense the weight of an unopened envelope somewhere, not yet delivered. Is it coming? Does it matter if it comes tonight? Maybe you'll just wait, and that will be enough. There's nothing to fix, no thought to chase, only the sweet, blank hush of evening. Sometimes the world moves so slowly it bends toward magic, and sometimes the most ordinary longing, waiting for words, waiting for a sign, is a spell all its own. Sit back, let go, let the hush find you. Settle in wherever you are. It's night now, or maybe it's morning, if you're listening the way you do, with half your mind tucked beneath the pillow. Either way, you're here, and you can let the rest of the world slow to a hush. This is the modern mystic, and together we're just going to walk through fog for a while, let time loosen its grip. Tonight, we're waiting for a letter. Not just any letter, but one from Carl Jung. A name like a cathedral bell at dusk, but to us, just another soul, born into mornings and afternoons, with worries and hopes, and fingers that once touched smooth paper. You don't need to understand. You don't have to listen closely if you've had a long day. Just lie back or curl up or pause in the softest chair you can find. I'll go slow. I promise to go slow. You're not here to learn, not really. You're here to let the hours drift like boats, untethered. Each sentence a soft blanket, each pause a doorway to nowhere. Let this be a permission to forget, to breathe, to remember sleep as an old friend. Nothing will be required of you here. Not one thing. The window can stay half open. The tea will keep. We're just waiting. Nothing more urgent than the way your eyes close, then open again. A night for waiting. A night for gentle company. There's nowhere else to be. Nothing happening outside this room. Just a slow, sacred boredom quietly gathering weight in the dark. The floor is cool beneath your feet. There is a letter coming. But for now, all you need to do is rest and wait. He waited by the window. A pen sat beside the lamp. Nothing happened, and that was enough. Soft welcome and invitation, just rest here. Let the weight drop from your ribs and shoulders. There's nothing to do, no one to become for a while. You're here with the modern mystic now, the quiet river of night winding through the window. The story isn't a story, it's a safe place you drift inside, like loose leaves swirling in a forgotten cup of tea. Let your heart settle into rhythm with the soft, predictable hush of these words. Together we wait, quietly, for a letter from Carl Jung, not because it matters so urgently, but because waiting for softness is what our souls remember best. Light falls gently between the blinds, catching dust in slow motion. each word falling slower than the last. You can let sleep come. You can drift through memories that aren't yours, but feel like home anyway. Morning rhythms of their life in the quietest hours. Morning does not begin with alarm, but with the subtle creak of floorboards. There's a chair by the window, pale grey in the light, and a kettle that breathes steam before it sighs. He sits in that familiar hush, the cooled dusk still clinging to his ankles, hands wrapped loosely around a mug. Nothing moves quickly. The teaspoon rests on the saucer, waiting to be stirred. Sometimes the letter comes, and sometimes it does not. But the world doesn't change, the world just is. The page on the writing desk is blank, cradling a fountain pen that has not yet found its story. The shadows on the wall fade, but not entirely. He waits by the window, tea blooming quietly in the mug, ink slowly soaking into the seams of his thoughts. Daily habits and tasks, extended detail. The day leans forward slowly, as if reluctant to disturb the bones of stillness left by night. He opens a window just a crack, letting in the soft ache of outside air. Dust listens on the windowsill. Rituals here are quiet, bread sliced thin, buttered with care. Books stacked in patient piles, their spines sighing beneath his thumb. Water trickles from a carafe into a chipped glass, slow enough to count. There is a clock, but he glances rarely. Time is something soft here, folding and unfolding without worry. He writes a little, then stops, pauses to watch the light shift, a curtain swaying. Lunch is simple, a bowl of soup, the gentle clatter of a spoon against porcelain. The day drifts. The pen scratches idly over the page, looping half phrases, never hurried. Tea kettle whistles, low and persistent. Nothing happens, and that is enough. Early influences and silent observations, his mind wanders quietly to the years before, to the hush of schoolrooms and the heavy breath of libraries. Those young days were filled with cobweb corners, the musty perfume of old books, chalk dust settling like mild snowfall. He watched people quietly, watched the way they bent over their work or paused when lost, how the lamplight played in their hair at dusk. Every night he would press his palm against cold glass, peering out at stars, naming them for feelings he couldn't say aloud. There were always questions, not for answers, just for the gentle feeling of asking. The teapot cooled sometimes, forgotten on the table. Small things, ink stains on his fingers, crumbs in the cushion seams, the faint pattern of rain at the window. The world moved gently inside him, ringed like a tree with the memory of silent attention. He waited by the window, sometimes for nothing at all. First subtle inner spark or desire, it was never one sudden thunderclap. The longing came on quietly, like fog rolling low over hills. The yearning for a letter from Jung was a yearning for connection, for someone else to see the same shapes in the shadows, to name a dream as a second home. The inner spark flickered, gentle and secret. Not ambition, just curiosity, unfolding itself like linen in warm hands. His pen hovered longer over certain phrases. His eyes lingered on the mailbox after morning tea. The desire was soft, like wanting a sweater on a cool morning. He would notice a scent in the air, rain mixing with earth, and wonder quietly what Jung might say if he knew. Most days he sat with the not knowing. The spoon clinked against the cup. Nothing happened, and that was enough. A slow turning point somewhere in the middle days. There was a shift, so quiet you might miss it, like a breeze finding a crack in the window frame. The waiting itself became the story, became the company. The ache of expectation dissolved, replaced by a sense of presence. Maybe the letter would come, maybe not, but the space it opened was holy. Tasks grew slower. He traced the grain of his desk with patient fingers, felt the bones in his hand echo the rhythm. Unread letters piled, but none felt as essential as the unseen one he hoped for. The old routines softened, blurred around the edges. He lingered over breakfast, walked the long way to the market. Hands tucked in his pockets, he felt the world arriving, moment by unhurried moment. Rain pooled on the stone steps outside. Nothing really happened, and that was enough. One space or object that defined them. If there was a soul to this waiting, it lived in the writing desk. Heavy with memory, worn dull by the years, its drawers held secrets. Old letters, a brass key, a single pressed leaf. The surface was scarred with the repetition of days, ink blot at the corner, grooves where a pen had hesitated, spun, begun again. On the desk, a lamp glowed gold in the dusk, drawing the world closer, quieter. He leaned into its circle of warmth, letting the rest of the room dissolve into half-light. Sometimes he ran a finger along the edge, counting the nicks and chips, each one a small ritual of return. Beneath the lamp, the blank page waited for him. He drummed his fingers, a slow, quiet beat. The desk held his hours, anchor and altar, and the window waited beside it, rain ticking softly against the glass. A full day in their life, boring, sacred, specific today is not special. He wakes before sunrise, listening to the soft creak of the house settling from night. In the kitchen, the kettle hums, water slow to boil. He butters toast, deliberate, even strokes. Each bite is small. The day unfolds in familiar stages. Window open to let in grey light, a book opened but not finished, letters read but not replied to. Lunch is soup, warmed on the stove, eaten with patient spoonfuls. He takes a walk, boots crunching over the damp walkway. Afternoon returns him to the desk, lamp switched on just as clouds gather. The pen moves over paper, sometimes writing, sometimes only drawing slow circles. The world softens. Dusk rides in quietly, street lamps flicker on. He washes dishes, the water warm over his fingers. Later, he waits by the window. Nothing happens, and that is enough. Emotional struggles they rarely shared, he carried the longing quietly, in the clench of a jaw, the slow rub of eyes behind glasses. The world expected sturdiness, expected him to keep his shape. But the waiting opened a small ache in him, a breath he sometimes forgot to release. Some evenings he stood at the window long after darkness pressed the street flat, not looking for anything in particular, just needing to be witnessed by the quiet. There were nights when the silence grew heavier, filled his chest, and sat there, unmoving. Longing knotted quietly in his stomach, unspoken. The spoon clinked against the cup, and the ache only deepened, soft as wool. Mostly he kept that depth to himself. The pain was its own company. Nothing happened, and that was enough. How others felt around them to others, he was a warm, slow presence. Someone who made room in his silences for another to unfold. Friends visited and found that their voices sounded softer in his living room, as if the house itself slowed the air. They sat with him over tea, watching light move across the tablecloth. No questions, no hurry. He listened fully, eyes patient, hands still. Strangers felt unseen anxieties settle in his calm. He offered comfort in the way he poured tea, in how he refilled water, how he let conversation drift into long, blooming pauses. His waiting, his hope for the letter made space for others to name their own quiet needs. The spoon clinked against the cup. Nothing happened, and that was enough. The season of slowing down with time, the waiting grew gentler, less urgent. The world cooled at the edges. He walked slower, let his eyes linger longer on everyday beauty. Evenings arrived earlier, the golden hour stretching into blue. The writing desk became a monastery, not for discipline, but for devotion. He attended to life with gentleness, folding laundry, mending socks, watering plants that leaned for sun in the kitchen's single window. Sometimes he sat, hands loose in his lap, not thinking, not wanting. The ache softened. The waiting became a kind of prayer, a daily pilgrimage to the mailbox, a soft welcome for whatever the day would bring. The spoon clinked against the cup. Nothing happened, and that was enough. Goodbye and whispered mantra now. The story draws its gentle circle around you, just as the night draws a blanket over the world. There is no need to hurry. You can rest in the rhythm. Let the memory of waiting become a gentle current that rocks you to sleep. Nothing asks to be solved here, not in this hour. He waits by the window, heart open, mind quiet. Around him the house settles. The spoon clinks, the light bends, the world tucks itself in. If you listen, you can hear the softness beneath every word, a quiet reminder waiting is not emptiness. It is presence. It is enough. Drift now. The letter will come, or not. Either way, you are already home. References. None needed. Original script for podcast. Soft light spills over the stillness tonight, gentle and thick. The world outside your window barely moves. An old dog shifting in its sleep. A passing car breathing distant blue against the walls. This is the quiet where your soul comes home tired and a little empty, yet hopeful. In this room, finally, nothing needs explanation. Nothing matters but the hush and the slow unfolding of a life you've never lived, but one that waits patiently to welcome you, like a friend in the fog tonight. You are invited to listen, not to be taught, not to chase burdens or brilliant lessons, but to rest in a story that moves slower than your own thoughts. Here, there is no performance, just a whisper, the company of a simple voice, the faint memory of waiting for a letter from Carl Jung. Tonight is not for answers. It is for pacing your breath to a story of paper and time, hands and windows, longing and tea. Let yourself settle. The bed is soft beneath you. The covers have their own gravity, gently holding you down, safe. Sometimes we need to walk through the fog, arm in arm with an old soul, going nowhere, just wandering through the dream of mundane beauty. Let's walk slowly. There is nowhere else to be. He waited by the window. Tonight, your spirit can wander without moving. Your story will wrap around you like a quilt stitched from quiet years. With every slow breath, the weight of the day drifts away, a coat folded and set aside. Listen, can you hear it? Somewhere in the soft folds of memory, a pen scratches against paper, and a life half glimpsed waits. Nothing happened, and that was enough. Tonight the city fades out, slow and grey, beneath the weight of late evening. You are home now, or wherever home is these days. The world is gentle, or it could be, if you let it hush you. Here, in the slow shelter of the modern mystic, we set every worry down. We wait together for something so small, an envelope, a page, a sign from someone who matters. You are safe here. You are more than the ache you carried. Tonight, we imagine the slow-woven days of waiting for a letter from Carl Jung, lived, sensed, and remembered. Let the boredom stack up, warm and gentle, like old quilts folded at the edge of a familiar bed. Nothing asks anything of you now, except to fall a little deeper into this soft, steady story. The kettle hums, a single lamp flickers on. Your breathing steadies, one silent guest in the endless rooms of waiting. Welcome back. The room is dim, like early dawn, and you found your way here again, to the modern mystic. Just as you are, you drift in, carrying the day's gentle weight, ready to be carried across the slow water. Tonight, we'll wait together. The topic is simple, waiting for a letter from Carl Jung. But this is not about the letter, nor the answer, nor the meaning. It's about the quiet in between. Let the edges of your thoughts blur. Sink down into the folds of your blanket. Whether your eyes remain open or drift closed, just know that nothing is missing, nothing is needed. Waiting will hold you safe tonight. Outside, a cloud passes over the moon. Shadows grow long, then shrink away again. The house is quiet. The world spins slowly, like a coin that never lands. He waits by the window, soft, silent, slightly amused by his own patience. Boredom becomes a ritual, a gentle servant who brushes dust from the mantle. You aren't here to learn. You're here just to